Guys, in this video I wanted to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about holsters, and in particularly some safety concerns that you need to be aware of when you carry your firearms. It is a good idea to get some type of training if you're new to firearms, and I know that there are a lot more states that are moving more towards constitutional carry. And it's still a real good idea, especially if you're new to firearms, to get some form of training. And for you guys out there that are just trying to get some additional information, even if you have had training, I just wanted to put this out there just to try to help reduce some of the incidents that could happen with firearms. And that's the purpose of this video. Now, what you have here are just a few of the holsters that I have, and these holsters are just a drop in the bucket compared to what's available out there on the market. And one of the things that you really need to know about holsters is whenever you buy a holster, you need to buy one that is made for your specific gun. Now, to show that we are being safe, now this particular gun here is my everyday carry. It is my Glock 19 Gen 4. So it is hot. There's the magazine. You see there is ammo, and also there's one in the chamber. Okay, now we are clear. This particular holster that I have in front of me that I carry most of the time for this gun is just a standard leather holster. There's nothing fancy about that, but for this gun it works well. It's very comfortable. And I have actually talked about leather holsters in another video that I will put a link to up in the corner. And leather holsters, generally, if you buy a good one, when you first get it, they are very tight on your gun, and there is a little step that you can do to help break them in a little faster to where it is going to fit your gun just a little bit better. And you don't want to go through and use any type of leather conditioners or anything like that, especially for one where it is molded to the gun. If you do, the holster is going to lose its shape and the retention. And that's how your leather holsters, a lot of them, if they don't have a strap, that form, the way they're molded to the gun, that friction is what keeps them in there. And you can see here, this one is not letting the gun fall out with no problem whatsoever. The first thing that any holster should be is made for your particular gun. Alright, there's a lot of different holsters out there on the market. There's a lot of universal holsters out there, and unfortunately people will generally go and buy a gun and then buy the cheapest holster on the market. That's a mistake. You want to invest in a quality holster. And you can find holsters for any gun out there, for any carry type, just depending on how you carry. Trust me, they are out there on the market. Check the link down in the description. I am going to include the link to my Amazon store, to my Amazon page, to where you can find several different holsters for all kinds of different guns. It'll be down in the description. Now, any holster that you buy needs to cover that trigger. Alright, it does not need to be one of these like we see some of the old cowboy gunfighter rigs to where that trigger is exposed. That is extremely dangerous. If something were to get in there and snag on that trigger and depress that trigger, that gun's going to go off, and you can injure yourself or someone else, and you will be held liable if you're in a public place. If you injure someone else, you're going to be held liable for that. Now, another thing that you want to be aware of, as I mentioned earlier, is make sure the holster you get's made for the gun that you have. For example, this is just a cheap SIG holster that comes with the SIG Sauer, and of course the Glock is not going to fit in here. Might fit in there kind of loose, but it won't even go all the way in. It's not going to cover that trigger guard. It's not going to work. So you might need to make sure that you get a holster designed for your gun. Just show that we're being safe with this one. There's nothing in this magazine. Also, there's nothing in the chamber on the SIG. A SIG holster is made for a SIG. That's what it works for, is for the SIG. You need to find one that works for your gun. Universal holsters are fine for some applications, but in my opinion, you're better off getting a holster that's going to work for your specific gun. Belly band holsters. I did a video just on this particular belly band. This is a universal type holster, and it is one that I will occasionally wear. It will work for several different guns. Just to show you, it works for my Glock just fine, no problem, and it will also work for the SIG. I pull my SIG over here, it'll fit right in there too. Just not as smooth as the Glock because this is just a little bit thicker there, but it will work for it. It does cover the trigger guard, but that's extremely soft material. Something could get in there and actually depress that trigger. And just to show you, listen very carefully. And you heard that click? That's because that gun would have gone off if it was loaded. Alright, so that's something that you need to be aware of. That soft material, if something gets against that trigger, can depress that trigger. And also notice how difficult it is pulling this gun out. You can get holsters like this to fit SIGs for any model out there, just like I said before. So make sure that you get one that fits your gun. There's inside the waistband holsters. This is one you can buy. Holster similar to this. This is actually one that I made for me. This fits my 92, and it's inside the waistband. I can actually touch or tuck my shirt in with this holster. I just like getting out in my shop, fooling around, trying to make things, and this is one that I made for me. I needed a holster for my gun, and I made one. But like I say, you can buy these commercially. And, of course, there's fanny packs, and don't laugh, guys, I use this stuff for my concealed carry classes also, but those are available. And something that I want to talk about in particular are some of these inside the waistband, real flimsy holsters like this. Now, it's important for you to know that if you put your gun in a holster like this, if you carry in a holster like this, when you draw that gun out, look what happens to that holster. It collapses. Okay? If you go to reholster that gun, you're going to have a difficult time getting that gun back in place. So what you need to do, remove this holster from where you're carrying it. Take your gun, open that holster back up, put your gun back in that holster, and then put the holster and all back into the position where you carry it. You don't want to have a negligent discharge to where you end up injuring yourself. Especially if appendix carry, you do have a major artery that runs down the inside of your leg. If you hit that artery, you're going to bleed to death before anybody gets there to you. One holster in particular that I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about is going to be the Serpa holster. This is a Black Hawk Serpa. There's a lot of controversy over this particular type of holster, and part of that controversy is the fact that people will not use the holster correctly. Now, this holster in particular is for my Glock 19, and it fits in there very well. It's a very solid retention, and the Serpas, of course, there is a button that you will press before you are able to draw that gun out. It is designed to keep your trigger finger outside of that trigger guard. If done correctly, your finger is going to be outside that trigger guard every time you draw that gun. Unfortunately, what we see happening, especially online, is you get people with heavily modified guns with hair triggers using Serpa holsters like this or other type of retention holsters. They're trying to do this quick draw stuff and end up shooting themselves. There's tons of videos online showing that, and it's all about the techniques that you use for a holster like this. What happens in many occasions is people will use the tip of their finger to depress that release, and when they draw that gun out, notice what happens to my finger. It falls right into where that trigger is. Okay, that is an improper technique when drawing from the Serpa holster. What I like to do is I will actually use the back of my knuckle. That way my finger is extended, I press in, and when I draw out, my finger is up on the frame of the gun, nowhere near that trigger. Okay, again, if you use the tip of that finger, there is a greater chance that it's going to fall right in there on that trigger, especially if you're trying to do this quick draw stuff. That's how you're going to get hurt. There are some model holsters out there that instead of using The finger, there's some out there that actually release with the thumb. You know, it actually has a button back here where you would depress it with your thumb to draw that out. I don't have one of those. They're very popular among law enforcement and others. But in particular the Serpa, and there's nothing, it's not a bad holster. It's a good holster. It covers that trigger well, has very positive retention, and if I'm out doing some work on my farm or something like that, there are times that I am going to wear this holster because of that, because I don't want to take a chance of my gun falling out. Now another drawback of it is if you're wearing gloves. Alright, if you have gloves on, it's going to be a little bit harder to manipulate this mechanism. I know I've gotten out, and you know me, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I like to test my gear. I like to know that it's going to perform the way I need it to. And with this particular holster, wearing heavy gloves, it is difficult to get that depressed correctly when I go to draw. So that is something in particular about the Serpa holsters that you need to be aware of. But guys, this is just a quick video that I wanted to do to talk about some important things to consider for holsters. Like I said, I'd made a previous video, and I don't want to keep this one that long. But again, check out the link down below if you are in the market for a holster. Buy a quality holster. If you don't have a holster that's comfortable, chances are you're not going to wear it. And if you're not wearing it, you're not going to have your gun with you. And if you don't have your gun with you, if you are in a situation where you need to protect yourself, you're not going to have the tools you need. Okay, so invest in a quality holster. That's just about all we can say about it. But guys, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to check out the rest of the videos on the channel. Let me hear from you. What is your favorite holster and method of carry? Leave your answer down in the comments below. That way it can be kind of a discussion point for folks who may be new to firearms, new to concealed carry. But guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.